Welcome to Encounters with Be A Roshan, the series that talks about client experiences with healing. I'm Master Roshan, and today we are talking about past life healing and its benefits and effects. I'd like to welcome Diana to Encounters with Be A Roshan. Diana is here to talk about her various experiences with past life healing sessions at Be A Roshan. Hi, Diana, and thank you for.
Hello.
So, before we dive deep into the subject, I'd like you to share a little bit about yourself and how you found this.
Okay, so hi everyone. As Roshan just shared, I'm Diana. And a little bit about myself is I've been on this spiritual journey for a long time, before I even met up with Roshan. And I also been a person of service, right? So I work like my jobs are usually in social service, and I always had that love to be of service to human beings since I was a child. So I feel like this has been my path. It just became clearer as I got older, and also as I um, had more experiences within the spirituality. And how I found Roshan was very interesting. So, everybody been through COVID times where things were shut down. There was a lot of like, I feel like hope, faith was, it was challenging for a lot of families, a lot of people, right? Within that time frame, there was a lot of, losing people, grieving. There was so much happening. It was chaotic. And finding something online, right? Because you couldn't really be in person. You couldn't do your natural thing. You're being stuck in the house, finding something online that focused on spirituality, that helped with healing, that was a big supportive tool at that time, was the go-to, especially for me. So I was on Eventbrite, and Rashawn was having a full moon event. And I said, let me join this event, and I'm a pretty open person. I joined the event and it started from there. It was just like, what else is he offering? The session was an amazing session. It was a group environment on Zoom, and it focused on the energy at that time. I'm not sure which full moon it was, but I know that was the focus. And then he also added a different type of healing that I had never heard of till I met with him, was the Atlantean healing. And before meeting Roshan, I know my back, like I know there was a lifetime where I was in Atlantis. Like you just have a knowing.
Yeah.
And one thing on this path is once you are exposed to something, it's just this knowing that this is where I'm meant to be. And I think that's where our relationship grew from there, was like, oh, what else is he offering? Let me try this. Let me see his one-on-ones. What is this about? And yeah, it's been amazing. We're going to go deeper, but it's been an amazing path.
Thank you. Thank you, Diana, for sharing about yourself and your journey. And so that gives the viewers an idea about where you're coming from, yeah, as far as healing is concerned. So you've had a lot of experiences with different practitioners before, and we all have our unique techniques. And so, yeah, we do past life healing. There's also past life regression. There's so many other modalities out there that deal with past lives. But I think when I started on this journey, I got into Reiki, and then I started experimenting with energies and energy healing. And so I came up with my own way of working with energy and working with the Akashic records. And so I created this. And so a lot of people don't know how this works, because they're so used to past life regression, where the therapist is putting them into a state of a meditative state, and it's stressful for a lot of them because
Yeah.
they're struggling to get into that meditative state. And so, yeah, I just wanted, this whole series is to get people to listen to your experience so that they can get an idea of what it's like to receive a past life healing, which is different from past life regression. So
So, well,
yeah, tell
before you
me.
ask me, before we go deeper, can you give everyone like I guess what's the difference between regression and the past life that you're offering?
Oh yeah, yeah. So the way past life regression works is that the practitioner has to put the client into a relaxing state. And that's quite difficult for a client who's doing a session for the first time. They guide them through a meditation sometimes, but sometimes it's just, listening to music and getting them to relax and telling them to breathe in, breathe out, and getting them to relax further and further. I've never done past life regression myself. I've never been to one, so I don't know exactly what it entails, but from what I've heard, this is what entails. Yeah. um, so when I was doing Reiki, I realized that a lot of past life things were coming up, and sometimes I would get the clients to see what was going on, and that's how past life regression works, where the client actually sees what's happening. And so this was interesting because when I did Reiki and they did see their past life traumas or issues, they came out of it a bit traumatized. Yeah. And that was a bit disturbing for me as a practitioner. I didn't want them to come out of a session feeling heavy, feeling sad, feeling, grief, all those things. And sometimes they were just shocked as to how traumatic those past lives were. And so I decided, okay, let me do it differently. I'm going to just stop telling, stop letting them see what they were and who they were and what they did. But maybe I just create a character portrayal of who they were and what they did, and maybe that's better. So they just visualize it. They don't see it, but they visualize based on what I'm telling them, right? And so that's how past life healing came about. Yeah. So that's the main difference, where I'm not doing anything to them. I'm not putting them into a trance. I'm just allowing them to relax, and then I'm guiding them. I'm creating this character portrayal of what I'm seeing, and then relating that to them. And so it's less stressful, less traumatic, takes a lot less time. Yeah, I can do a past life session in 1 hour, whereas regression takes about 4 hours. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So I think it's a major evolution of past life regression. Yeah.
It definitely is.
Yeah. So, well, you've done a lot of past life healing sessions. You know what it's like there. And I think you've had some very interesting experiences. Yeah. So, the first question that I like to ask you is, how did you feel before starting past life healing sessions? Of course, you've done it before, probably with other people. And then, but, what motivated you to explore this with us? Yeah.
So I truly believe the reason why I had so many past life sessions with you is it's been very different from the experiences I've had before. Sometimes I would do my own, like I would look on YouTube and search past life meditations, but I like experiencing it with you. I've been provided like a clearer details of like what's
Mhm.
happening, the time frame,
Yeah.
who I was, like I receive more information, and then also the healing aspect is like I have a more an idea of what I'm working on, what's being healed, right? Versus
Yeah.
when I just do a meditation and whatever happens happens. Um, but
Mhm.
I really like enjoy like the one-on-one. Like I can ask questions. That's very important to have someone that you can ask questions. And one thing about this experience is you're always open to answering questions, right?
Yeah.
Even though sometimes we laugh, we're like, some of the questions are like, I know I'm gonna be a pain, but healing isn't easy, right? It's a
It's not.
choice,
It's not.
right?
Yeah.
And putting myself in this situation, having someone who I can actually ask questions. I know that I can rely on you to, go deeper, find out what's happening, what's the root cause of this, and then share with me anything that comes up that you can put healing towards. So that's been very helpful, and I feel like that's why. And then the stories are very interesting. You're like, wow, I was really doing that. That was me. Oh my god. And as we've been working together, I noticed it's evolving, right? We've been
Evolving,
seeing
absolutely.
evolving a lot, so it's just like, yeah, we're doing past life, now it's parallel lives, right? Oh, your future self, so just having that ability to put healing towards, all those different aspects of me, right? All of this is me,
Yeah.
and your past life, your present life, all of this is impacting you. And to be able to know that, wow, I can actually, be part of this healing for myself. It's like for my soul. It's amazing. It's extraordinary. I told you the story before I met you, like a long time ago. There was an experience I had. I was, heading to work, and I was thinking to myself, wow, I wish there was a way I can go into my past life and like, and heal different aspects and find out what's happening. And also I was always focused on my gifts, right?
Yeah.
My spiritual gifts, like what are they? How can I tap into that? And I said, I wish there was a way. And then it fell years later.
The universe
Be
delivered.
Roshan delivered, so it's amazing, and like I also believe because I've worked with different people, had different spiritual teachers. Everyone, as you said, is unique. They all have their gifts that they're here to bring to the world, and sometimes you really stay and work with someone because also personality. One thing about you also, you don't have any problem sharing from your life, like what's
Yeah.
happening with you and connecting the dots, helping me connect the dots, right? We all have a blind side, right?
Yeah.
There's areas we're not aware. Sometimes we're responding and through whatever happened in our when we were a child, where it's impacting us and we're responding, and we're walking through life just responding. We're being reactive, right?
Yeah.
To different things, and it's just having someone that can like support you and like guide you.
Mhm.
It's an important thing, it's very important. And I can definitely go into meditation and I can receive my own information, but there's things that you can see that I can't see.
Absolutely.
And it's because you're coming from a different perspective, right? And I'm a firm believer of being open and experiencing, all that the universe is providing to us, everything.
Yeah.
It's been extraordinary doing these sessions with you because I've been learning about myself, and I feel like you're learning about yourself. It's
I am. I am absolutely,
right.
absolutely. Every session that I do with you and all of my clients, it's they're not only healing them, but they're also healing me and they're helping me grow. Yeah. So it's always a learning for me. And that's why I love doing this. Yeah. Because I'm also growing, I'm expanding, learning new things about myself and people. Yeah. So
Yeah.
we are, I mean, the reason I'm doing this is to help others. Yeah. But in the
Right.
process, yeah, I'm growing, I'm learning, working with new energies and doing different things. And, we are evolving. The healing sessions are evolving as we go. Yeah.
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
So as you're speaking, as I feel like as human beings, right? We're
Mhm.
always growing, and in order for us to continue, just like you're providing these healings, more insight, you're getting more insight. It's because you're now being more open to more sharing your gifts in another level,
Absolutely.
And I'm here for it. But yeah.
Thank you, Diana. So, um, the next question I have for you is, well, you've had so many sessions with us, right? So maybe pick on one particular session that you did, really grabbed you, or that you felt really drawn to, where some specific emotions or insights came up during that session.
Okay. Well, I feel each session is different. There's one session I had that was very interesting.
Yeah.
That Roshan was actually in my past life. But that's not what I'm gonna bring on. That's not what I'm gonna bring. One thing that did stand up. So I had a session where it was a parallel lifetime, and I was able to access my leadership skills, right? So I'm a natural born leader. I believe that. I like to believe that. However, there's many areas that I feel that I struggle with imposter syndrome. You know, like even though I'm learning and I know I'm doing the right thing and I'm making the right decision, there's that part of me that's like, are you a great leader? How are you impacting the people around you?
Yeah.
Are they receiving what they need to receive? Am I, leading by example? And all the greatness that comes with being a leader. And when we tapped into that parallel life, I was an amazing leader in that life. The confidence was there. The being able to manage and not get overwhelmed was part of that the emotions I was having there, being grounded, right, making sound decisions. So I was able to access that, and I was sharing with Rashad that that session, like I felt the impact immediately, like immediately. And with these sessions, sometimes, it takes time to integrate. Not that long, but it takes time to integrate. But for me, since I've been doing this work and I've been doing a lot of shadow work and, I'm here working on different areas of myself, I'm able to see these things quicker. Right? I'm able to see the shifts. I'm more aware. I'm able to embody it, and that's a huge thing. So that was one of the sessions that I really appreciate because I feel like it's supporting me in where I'm heading.
Yeah. 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 Um, so I know this healing session is about past lives, and the people are probably wondering why we're talking about parallel lives. Yeah. And I just want to put that into perspective. So, well, Diana has been doing so many sessions of past life healing. And so, what's happened is, or what's been happening is that her evolution has been happening with every session, and it's been accelerating. And there comes a point in time where we are not only clearing emotional stuff from past lives or karmic stuff from past lives, but we're also bringing in positive things from past lives, right? And like, for example, gifts and unlocking abilities and things like that. Yeah. And so that's happened to a certain point. And then when you reach a certain plateau, your soul decides, okay, let's access these other things from what's happening in parallel lives. And there was even one where we went into a future lifetime, right? Where we brought in the positive aspects from that future lifetime. So it's
Yes.
really interesting how this evolves. But I guess, I've seen it with very few people who have done so much work on themselves to get to that point. Yeah, where we're accessing parallel lives and future lives. Yeah. It's been happening with people who've come here and done a lot of healing sessions on themselves, a lot of Reiki, a lot of past life healing sessions as well, and some of the other services as well. So yeah, it can be that you'll go through a series of past life healing sessions, and then you switch over to parallel lives and future lifetimes, and it'll go on, and you keep evolving, and the evolution just gets broader and deeper. Yeah, deeper levels of consciousness. Yeah. My next question for you is, Well, I think it was very clear from what you said, but I think I want to maybe dig a little deeper into this particular aspect of how past life healing sessions have positively impacted your present life and also your well-being. Yeah, we know that we're bringing or clearing negative stuff from the past life. For example, karmic stuff where you've created karma or other people have impacted you, negatively. So, or how has that impacted you in your daily life, in your day to day?
So what I noticed, so I feel like my life has shifted
Mhm.
tremendously. How I'm being received has shifted. My relationships, right?
Mhm.
All types of relationships, whether it's family, my workplace, my friends, has shifted into a positive way, where I feel like I'm seen, right? I'm
Absolutely.
I'm seen more. I'm my true, like as I'm working on my healing path, what I'm noticing is I'm getting closer to my authenticity, right? And people are able to see who I truly am, which is a loving being, right?
Absolutely.
And you know, even with like growing up with the past life, but not only past life, this present life, right? Growing up, you've been through different, um, I call it trauma, right? But everyone has their version of trauma, right?
Absolutely.
I hit my finger, I'm traumatized, right? There's different types of trauma. And everybody receives it differently. And I feel like, of course, this impacts you, right? As you get older, it impacts you. Now I'm like, oh, I don't want my finger over there. I don't want anything, no one to touch my finger. Not realizing as a child, I hurt my finger. That's why I'm just every time I'm like, I don't want no one touching me. So it's just, all of that plays a part in how I am, and I noticed with the past life, all the releasing releasing and also receiving, right? So releasing and healing any type of emotions, um, where I was lonely, right? I had a lot of past life where I was a sailor on a boat and I was
Yeah.
out in the sea
Oh,
for alone for like months, right? And think about how that impacts you. You feel less connected to people, right? And you feel that you're not present. However, you're like, oh, when I was a kid, my mom did this to me, but the past life played a huge part in how psychologically you're moving through life, right? Because it's all part of you. So I received a lot of healing, and I noticed my relationships are more intimate. I feel closer. I feel more connected, and people are more open, right? Because if I'm feeling detached, sometimes we think people don't see us, but they see you as
mm.
detached,
Yeah.
and they don't. Your energy is detached, so they don't even want to connect with you. I'll leave her alone. She doesn't look like she wants to connect, and you're walking through life not understanding how you're being seen, because in your mind, I'm very connected, I'm happy, I'm joyful, but
Yeah.
everybody sees you.
Yeah.
They feel your energy. It's not only about seeing, it's also feeling your energetic vibration, and it's your energetic vibration might not be welcoming because you're used to being alone, right? So it has impacted me a lot. I noticed a lot, like with my relationships, have gotten better. I'm able to communicate better. There was a time I was shut down.
Hmm.
Um, I hardly expressed myself, especially in relationships. I was passive, people pleasing, all of that. So now it's more assertive, and
Yeah.
also sharing like what my needs are, and also being open to hearing other people's needs, but coming into a compromise, But before I was not able to see it because that's who I thought I was, like,
Yeah.
okay, I just want to get through life. I was surviving. A
Mm.
lot of us are surviving,
Absolutely.
we're not
Yeah.
living.
Yeah.
So survival mode is I'm gonna yes you, I'm gonna people please. Everything is yeah, sure, and we're scared to say no,
Yeah.
right? We're fearful to say no. We're fearful to stand our ground. I was one thing about me also before I started this past life is I was always neutral. Like, oh, is it hot in here? I'm fine. Is it cold? So I would be in the workplace, and I remember, like, I always think of that experience. I was in a open space
Yeah.
with cubicles in a workplace, and half of the people wanted the window open because they were hot. The other half wanted it closed because they were cold. And my supervisor asked me, "Oh, how's the temperature?" "It's fine. I'm old." I never had an opinion. I never had a side.
Yeah.
And it didn't only show up at work. It showed up in my personal relationships. It's like, okay, if this person wanted me on their side, I was on their side. Then I was
Yeah.
on another, I never had my own opinion. And it was, like after receiving all these healings, I I feel like now I'm more myself, my authentic self, releasing all the healing the shadow aspects, integrating the shadow aspects, right? Because we all
Yeah.
have our shadows, that's part of us, right? We're not getting rid
Yeah.
of it. But it was more of an integration and also knowing myself,
Mm.
learning. And sometimes we think we know ourselves. And I think we all know ourselves to the level that we know ourselves, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Until
We're just
until you
unaware. Yeah.
open up, you're unaware, right?
Yeah.
And then as the awareness comes, you're like, oh wow, I didn't realize this about me. Oh, I didn't know how this impacted me. So to stick to the past life, I feel like it gives you insight. And you're like, wow, I do deal with this. Oh, a lot of realizations come
Yeah.
up with the past life. You're
Yeah.
like, oh, I do struggle with this. And before the session, I was not thinking about that. And that's what I love about it because it's very spontaneous. You don't know what's coming up. It's not planned. It's what's meant to come up. It's what your soul wants you to work on, receive right now. What's ready to come up. And that's an amazing thing because you just whatever you need. It's also I think it's also connecting with surrendering and trusting. Because I had my moments where I'm like, can I tell you which time frame I would like to go? Can I tell you what the theme should be? And Roshan's like, no, 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 right? It's what I need, right, in the
Yeah.
moment. And it's so interesting because you don't know you need it till you need it, right?
Mm.
Until it comes up, you're like, wow, struggling with not feeling enough. Like I'm not doing enough. I'm not being enough, right? I just need to do more, and then not going into that, oh wow, I had a past life where something happened that made me not feel enough. My parents treated me a certain way in my past life. And the great thing about the past life is you're also sending healing to not only to myself, but the roles within that past
Yeah. Yeah.
life. Right? Yeah.
So while you're talking about this, and I felt this before, but it never came up, and now it's coming up in conversation that I think this is one of the major differences between past life healing and past life regression. Because in regression, they're mostly dealing with trauma, traumatic events that have occurred in a past life. For example, if they had a major accident and they were traumatized, yeah, or they had maybe they died very tragically, maybe they were killed, maybe in a war, or maybe they hung themselves or something like that, they committed suicide, right? But here, I'm not just looking at traumas, I'm looking at emotional, mental, and spiritual programs that are running from that time and flowing down into your current life. So I think that's a major difference. I don't know if a lot of people do that, but I certainly felt when I created this that this was the way to go. And so I was guided in that direction. That's how I created this. Yeah. But yeah, I think that's one major difference with this healing modality. Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree because not all my past lives had a traumatic experience.
No,
There was
yeah,
time I was a business owner and I was very successful. So
exactly.
it was also accessing what made me successful at that time frame within that time frame and bringing it within now. So
Yeah.
yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah.
Another interesting part also is, what I do appreciate is the check-ins, right? So as you're doing the fast light, you're like, are you feeling any sensations anywhere?
Yeah,
Or, like making sure
yeah.
you're checking in with
Yeah.
me has been helpful because sometimes I'm like, oh, I feel something in my throat. You're like, yeah, that's how you died. Even though that was not the main focus, but it
Yeah.
was just like, it was like, yeah, that's how you died, and then you send healing to that, and the pain is gone like instantly, and it's not
Ex-
even pain. It's just a feeling that you feel. You're like something happened here,
Yeah.
or it's like, oh, my leg or whatever the thing. But it's
Yeah.
just the fact that you check in, and then yeah, it's just interesting what comes out.
Yeah, because I felt when I created this that I needed to constantly make my clients aware of what's happening in their bodies, because I think the body is trying to tell you what's going on, but we're not aware. A lot of times people come here, and before we start the session, I ask them, do you have any pain? No, no, absolutely no pain. And then halfway through the session, when I tell them, okay, you have some pain in your lower back. Yeah, I've had that for like 15 years. Yeah, but they didn't realize that it was
Yes,
there. It's just so chronic. It's just become part of their everyday life that, they don't know it's there. Yeah. Or
right.
right.
And think about how many people are walking through life with different types of pain, not realizing it's
Absolutely.
connected to their past life,
Exactly. Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
Not really. They're just carrying it like they come into this world with it. There's a lot of people who come in and they're like, yeah, I always had this pain. And as you shared, it became part of them. Like, oh, this is normal. My back, I'm used to having back pains. I'm used to my knees having knee
Yeah.
pains,
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then it's all connected. That's one thing I've learned on this path is the connect. Everything is connected.
Everything. I mean, yeah, like while you're talking about pains from past lives, right? I've had, while before I got into energy healing, I had severe pain in my neck. And it was only after clearing and working on my past lives, I realized that I had been enslaved so many times, in many past lives. And so there was always collars around my neck. And so I'm sure a lot of people have that because, we've been enslaved by somebody or the other for eons. Yeah. So yeah. Pains descending down from past life into the current life. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. It's very interesting. Very interesting.
It is. And as I work with, clients on a regular basis, I find that it's getting even more and more interesting. The stories get even more interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And another thing with the past life sessions, you actually know, like it's very detailed to the point where you know what country, like where it
Yeah.
happened. If you
Yeah.
were in France, like for me, I had a lot of sessions in Congo, Switzerland, different areas, and then you also share if you were a male, if you were a female, like what,
Yeah.
like the information is just so interesting. To know that much about yourself in another time frame that you didn't even know existed. And
Mm.
then I always like when we have sessions, sometimes we go back to BC.
Yeah.
Hey, like what? Like when I was, um,
Yeah.
it's very like you don't know what will come up, and our souls are we have souls that we have different I think our souls are different ages, right? We have older souls, younger souls. My soul, I believe, is an older soul because I've been traveling,
Yeah.
been in all different places, all types of beings, and it's just interesting to see how far back, you existed.
Absolutely, absolutely. The next question is to do with, surprises that came up. Well, yeah, you talked about surprises. How you died or how, things positive things that came up, like you were a businesswoman or a businessman, and we were able to bring that. Those are things that you didn't anticipate. But when we brought those back, did you feel like, for example, there was this past life where I think you were a businessman and you were trading horses, right? And so you were extremely confident and you were calculative in your mindset, in your thinking, in your planning, and you were so connected with the earth and the seasons of the time and everything. So did you feel like that level of confidence flowing into you in this time, in this life after that session? Yeah.
I definitely did feel that, right? I felt after that session, of course I needed to rest so I can, integrate, but I felt more assertive,
Mm.
more confident, more very like a lot more confident in trusting myself and knowing that I'm strategizing and making better decisions. So one thing with that session, I was like, oh, I naturally love nature, right? I
Yeah.
always love nature. So even though that past life is they love nature, I feel like it's passed down. Like that's been part of me, right? So
Mm.
then I can also see that, oh, that might be a reason why I love nature, right?
Yeah.
Is because that's already part of me. So that aspect is just more love for nature. When it comes to I didn't start selling anything yet. But one thing I always had was the gifts for the what is it, gifts for gabs?
Yeah.
Like the what is it? Did I say it accurately? Where I love sales. I love
Sorry.
selling things. I love selling things.
Oh, he's selling
Like
it. Okay.
so, and this is coming up right now when I'm thinking of it. Like
Yeah.
when I was younger, I had where I would have to sell newspapers, and I
Great.
was amazing at it, right?
Yeah.
So it's just interesting. Now I'm connecting, like, oh, okay. So I'm connecting like that kind of mindset. Like I'm a performance type of personality. Like I love goals. Put the goal out there, like let's see how we're gonna get there, right? So
Yeah.
I naturally love that, but being able to tap into that is just more confidence,
Mm.
maybe strategic on another level,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
Right. I feel like I'm strategic on another level, assertive, and just quicker. My mind is just quick,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's just like next, which is amazing because with life happening and different things and all these distractions, I'm able to focus more, you know,
Absolutely.
and
Yeah.
and sometimes we're doing other things. There's different ways, right? I feel like we have a goal. There's so many different ways to get to this goal.
Mhm.
And past life has been a way for me, and I feel like it'll be a way for a lot more people.
Yeah.
There's different types of past life. I did different types of past, but nothing is like this because it's you're getting way more information, more detail. I remember the first time I worked with Rashawn, I was like, wow, you provide a lot of detail, and all of that helps you. It helps a lot because you know more,
Yeah.
you know a lot more, and then you're able to connect more dots, right? The more you can connect the dots, the more you evolve as a person because you're like, oh, this makes sense. Oh, this is why I do this, or so all of it comes into play, and I feel like the deliverance makes a big difference, right? There's different past life healers out there,
Mhm.
right? It's not that they don't exist; it's just everyone does it in their unique ways.
Yeah.
And this way, that's why I come back, right? So I've had people I work with, and I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
but this way I've been seeing the impact, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that's one thing you see. One thing is when someone say, yeah, I worked on this for you. We did a past life. And then another piece is when you actually see your life slowly shifting and then now it's shifting even quicker, right? Because I feel like the reason why I started slower because when I first met Roshan, there was a lot of other areas that I was working on as
Yeah.
well that I needed to come up to release. So it's just like I always think of the lotus flower. That's my
Yeah,
analogy. The lotus flower, you're coming out of the mud. The flower
yeah,
is growing out of the mud. So the more you work on yourself, the more you're releasing, the more you're shining, the more
absolutely.
you can actually live and you come
Yeah,
out of survival mode, you know?
yeah.
Yeah.
It also, this whole thing about, you were saying attention to detail. It's been a major part of my life. As before coming into energy work, I was a photographer, and there was a lot of attention to detail. But I thought also when I created this that I needed to create these characters for people to get a better understanding of who they were. And when I started, it was, very vague because I was doing these things on myself, I was experimenting on myself before, and yeah, as I got into that process, it became it became more clearer and more vivid. The descriptions were so much more interesting as I got in deep. And yeah, I think it's important. It's absolutely important for me to dive in and look at all of those details and squeeze the maximum out of
Right.
that past life in the time that we have. And I think it's happening. It's happening, right? Major, so much shift has happened with every single session for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we're looking at all of those different things, and I didn't realize in the start when I did that, I didn't realize what I was doing, why I was doing that. But now when I look back, yeah, with
Mm-hmm.
with your sessions and with other client sessions, it's like, oh, there's stories there.
Yes.
Yeah, there's stories, and they are able to relate to those stories and understand what it was like. Yeah. When I see those images that way, like I see people dressed a certain way. I know it's the 1800s or the 1600s. you know they're riding horses or they're driving T Fords, and all of those things. um, that gives me context, and that gives my clients context to understand themselves better. Yeah. I think there was one also where I'm not sure if it was yours or another client's, where it was in the Second World War. Yeah, and I think it was in Italy. It was during the time of Mussolini, and I saw these Italian soldiers wearing these funny hats and these funny uniforms, and I just knew it was that era. Yeah, by looking at those details. But yeah, I think for the client, those details make a big difference. Yeah, and so yeah, I think it's interesting. It's interesting how this energy works.
It's very interesting. Yeah, it's very interesting, and it continues to evolve. But it stays exciting. It's always you don't know what's next, what comes up. So it's exciting on both ends. I'm assuming it's exciting for you, but it's exciting for the person that's working on themselves and receiving as well. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I've had people come in here looking for past life healing, and they're so excited, and I think it's a very exciting thing, right? To to try and understand or to be able to see who I was in a past life. Yeah, so that's why I think we decided to go with this as the first episode. Yeah, because it's so interesting for people. But yeah, a lot of people don't know what it entails. A lot of people think that it's going to take a long time to actually get into that zone of being able to see and all that. But I think that's not required. That's not necessary with this in this case,
Mhm.
because yeah, I'm giving you all the information, and
Mhm.
then you don't need to do much, right? You just need to assimilate, receive it, and that happens instantly. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. And the key thing is how it's impacting you now,
yeah,
you know?
yeah.
Yeah.
Good, Diana. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time and for doing this.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, I want to thank you for being there, doing all of the sessions, healing yourself, and allowing, because it's translating to healing others, right?
Yes.
How you see yourself, and that impacts you, and then it also impacts the people around you, because then they realize there are some things that they need to shift as well, they need to change as well. And I think that that's necessary if we are to raise consciousness, because that's what we're doing. That's the whole purpose of this:
Yes. Yes.
raising consciousness, raising awareness, being aware, fully aware, as much as possible of who we are and how we are supposed to live. Yeah, yeah.
Yes. Definitely. Like as I work on myself, as you just said, raising the consciousness. It's just I've seen people also just shift. So my response to them have shifted, right? Because
Mhm.
I've worked on myself and then they have shifted as well. So it's just seeing how, you know, me shifting myself has caused them to also respond different,
Yeah,
right? Sometimes we don't even see our, that's why we're raising awareness as well, because we're not seeing how we show up,
yeah,
right? In situations, right? Every situation is different, but sometimes the way we show up the way we know how to show up, right? The way we're conditioned to show up.
yeah,
And
yeah,
as we're working on ourselves, we're shifting that whole our perspective on things. We're seeing people different. And then they're also seeing us different and they're responding to us different. And
definitely.
I'm just thankful for the opportunity to have worked with you and also to share my experience with the different sessions because it has impacted me and plays a major role of where I'm at right now.
Yeah.
So thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you, Diana. So I think we are out of time. So I think we'll end with that. Yeah. And I look forward to doing this once again with you, maybe a different session. But yeah, have a wonderful day. Thank
You
you,
too. Thank you.
and much love and light to
Bye.
you. Bye bye.
Much love. Bye.
Bye bye.